Good morning, Mean Green Nation. We are live from Dickies Arena at the American Conference Tournament, and I'm your host, Jake Levine. I'm joined by Wyatt Schott, Connor Hibbett, Jazzer Williams. We are so excited to be here doing this show. We're going to talk about North Texas Mean Green first. We're going to recap their season, talk about their game upcoming today. It's all going to mesh together. Guys, I want our thoughts on what we saw this season from this team. 9-7 in conference, 10-8 in conference play. Jazzer, what do you think?
Honestly, I think that they did a really good job with what they had. I'm going to transition to, we have our letter grades. I'm going to give them a B-. I think that a B is solid for, you gave effort for what you had. You tried to make it work. But with being said, there could have been a little bit better. A couple of losses they shouldn't have lost. A couple injuries and whatnot. But I think that they did overall not bad. They did decent.
Connor, letter grade.
B- for me. They could have done a better job maxing out, because when you look at the season, it's a lot of what could have been. It's a lot of close losses. So you do wonder if there weren't injuries, would we have had better sustained success throughout the season? But I still think we were a really competitive team, so that's why I still give them a B grade, but B- because we could have done a better job executing in close games.
Wyatt.
Yeah, I'm going to give them a C+. I think this team was capable of more than what they showed this season. You transition into the American, which is supposed to be a tougher conference, but honestly, I think the CUSA last year was more competitive than the American was this year.
Yeah,
it's some really
from top to bottom.
Teams. Yeah, from top to bottom. So I was a little disappointed that we come into what was supposed to be a harder conference, but I think it was a little bit easier and we couldn't compete. I understand we're transitioning through a coaching change with Ross Hodge, with Grant McCastle leaving for Texas Tech. But I think that North Texas could have done better. Like you said, the close losses, 6 of our 8 conference losses were by 5 points or less.
Yeah.
So there's a lot left on the table for this North Texas team, and that's why they get the C+.
Yeah, and for that reason that you actually just said about the 6 losses being 5 points or less, I'm going to give them a B+, because I think this team was picked to finish about where they finished, right? And you had so many games that they were competitive in. They were competitive in nearly every conference game. You could say Charlotte they weren't really competitive in on the road, but pretty much every conference game they were competitive in. And, a lot of those games could have gone the other way, and we'll see today if that bad luck kind of runs out for them. And let's talk about today. Go ahead with the luck metric. Let's hear it.
The luck metric is crazy. We are one of the unluckiest teams in college basketball. There are 362 D1 basketball teams in the nation, and last time I checked, we were 359th in luck, which is just crazy. I mean, if you were to simulate the season again, we are definitely better than 10-8 in conference.
Right,
absolutely.
I mean, we're probably 12-6 at least.
And if you run into a conference tournament like today, that luck factor is going to run out, right? The lucky teams are going to not have that anymore. The unlucky teams are going to get their revenge. And so let's talk about today. UNT's got Tulane on the slate. I believe they're 6-point favorites last time I checked. Let's talk about this. First, do we think UNT could cover this?
Absolutely. North Texas played Tulane in the season twice. They beat them twice. They're complete polar opposites in play style, honestly. Tulane wants to go really fast. They have the highest tempo in the American Conference. They're 12th tempo in all of college basketball. And they want to run, but they don't play a lot of defense. Yep. North Texas is slow, and they play good defense. Now, they're slow and they play good defense, but the defense might be because they're slow. Teams don't get as many possessions. Right. There's going to be a clash of styles, and it's proven so far that our style has beat their style.
Right. What do you guys think we're going to see today?
We've matched up well against Tulane all season. This was the team coming into the season. They had 2 of the better guards coming into to the American this season. I thought they were going to be a much better team. They have not lived up to expectation. If you were to look at the preseason poll, they were projected 3rd or 4th in the conference.
Yep.
And then you look at us, and we were this close to overachieving in a lot of our close losses. Right. Imagine if we just flip half those games. We're one of the bigger overachievers in the American this year. So it's kind of not overachieving in terms of record, but overachieving in terms of the stats for us, and then underachieving for Tulane in terms of their stats and their record.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's why we're favored by the amount that we are, despite our close records, if you will.
All right, Jazra.
I don't think that luck is going to be a factor today. I think that UNT is just overall a better team. I think that they have more help. Obviously, we've seen Jason Edwards step up. We have our injured players, CJ and Ruben, coming back. I think that they might be ready for today, but I think that in this environment of Dickies Arena and how intense and hype it is here, I think that'll kick us into gear. I also want to note that Kevin Cross for Tulane, he's really by himself. He doesn't have a lot of help. They have some scorers, but as far as rebounds, assists, he has no help. He's doing it all. That's going to run out. And then as far as coming into today, Tulane has had 4 losses in the past 5 games. Yep. So they're already on a bad streak. So I think that today UNT is going to take it.
Right, absolutely. And let's talk about someone that we're looking out for UNT. I think it's going to have to be Ruben Jones. You know, he's been the leader here. He's a senior. He needs to go out the right way. He was even the voiceover in the hype video this morning that they posted. I think he's going to have to be the guy. Do you guys agree, disagree? Who do you think?
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that Aaron Scott's going to have to step up, though. I think that he's the X factor for this team. He started the year so hot. In the 5 of the first 6 games, he was the leading scorer for North Texas, and since then he's just been a shell of himself. I think if he can get back to his beginning of season form, that it makes North Texas a different team.
Yeah, if Aaron Scott plays to his potential, this team's ceiling is off the charts. I think he's one of the 2 most athletic players in the team. So if he can play up to his potential, I think we got a great chance to maybe even win the conference tournament.
Yeah, Jazz, who are you looking out for?
I definitely agree. I'm going to go with Aaron Scott, and I think that his potential, I would love to see that today. It would be a treat to see him living up to that in this tournament.
All right, let's do score predictions right quick. I'm going to go 65-53. I think UNT takes it in a low-scoring affair, just kind of common UNT style, Wyatt.
Yeah, I think North Texas might score a couple more points just because of Tulane's pace of play. And so I'm going to go with 75 for North Texas and 68 for Tulane.
All right.
That's about the same margin I have, a little bit of a different score. I'm going to go 68-61 UNT.
I was going to go 72-65 UNT.
All right, well, a lot of 7-point margins here. When we come back, we're going to talk about the American Conference Tournament that's going to be played right behind us over the next few days, so don't go anywhere.
All right, look up here. 1, 2, 3.
Mom, Dad, I got it. You're right, Mom. I have.
Welcome back to Mean Green Mania. We are live from Dickies Arena, the site of the AAC Conference Tournament Championship. I'm your host, Jake Levine. It's still Wyatt Schott, Connor Hibbett, Jazzer Williams with me, the same crew. We're going to talk about the tournament that's going to be played right behind us over the next few days. And I want to hear your guys right off the bat. Who's winning this tournament, Jazzer?
I'm going to say FAU. Unfortunately, I really want our Mean Green to win, but I think that FAU is going to have to pull it out.
I think the winner of, well, obviously we have to take care of business today against Tulane. If we take care of business, I think the winner of us and FAU will end up winning the conference tournament. But I will say this. I think we're going to see a few upsets. Maybe today one, but I think we could see a couple of upsets the next round.
I like that point, actually. Don't want to intervene, but Temple SMU is going to be played after North Texas. I think that's upset alert. Temple played a good game yesterday. Wyatt.
Yeah, I'm going to go with FAU as well. I think Connor's right that the winner of that North Texas FAU game, assuming that North Texas handles business today against Tulane, I think that the winner of that game could go on to win the whole thing, and I think it's going to be FAU. I got them taking down Memphis in the championship.
Yeah, absolutely. That game that could be tomorrow with North Texas win today, 8 p.m., North Texas versus FAU on ESPN2. I mean, it doesn't really get much better than that, but you got to take care of business today. So let's talk about underachievers, overachievers. You know, who do we think is capable of making the run that Rice made in the women's tournament over the past few days? They won the championship last night as a 10 seed, just unbelievable. What kind of team is capable of this? I mean, we can all say North Texas.
Of course.
You know, I think we all believe North Texas is capable of that. But Wyatt, do you have a team that you think is really an underdog in this tournament?
I think that North Texas is a true underdog, and I do think that they can get it done. I think that they can pull this off. Their team's built for it. I mean, North Texas just exudes a team that can make a run in March.
Right.
They were banged up in the regular season. They get healthy at the tournament time. They win 3 of their last 4. They're hot coming into the tournament. I really think that they can get it done.
I'm going to use an analogy here to describe what I think is like the underachievers, like potential breakthrough teams for conference tournaments. Okay. Think of a juice box. The juice box is a team, and they have whatever amount of juice they have in the juice box is their potential.
Right.
If you have a team that's kind of overachieved in the regular season, they have squeezed all of the juice out. Like, they don't have anything left.
South Florida.
Exactly. And UAB too. And if you look at like the luck metric, the top 2 teams in terms of luck in our conference are USF and UAB, the 2 biggest overachievers. So I would not be surprised to see those teams get upset at some point in the conference tournament. And then you look at the teams who have, I don't want to say underachieved, but haven't maxed out. They haven't lived up to that full potential. So they still got a lot of juice left in the box, and they could use some of that juice in the conference tournament. How about us? We've lost a lot of close games this year, and we have all this potential still left.
Yeah.
And I think there's a couple of other teams. I think SMU has some upside. Temple's playing pretty well right now. There's a lot of Memphis, they've got a high ceiling. Those are the kind of teams that I would watch for, especially in March.
Jazzer, I got one question. Who's got the juice?
I think that North Texas has the juice. My second guess was going to be Memphis. I do think that they have a lot of energy when it comes to coming into this tournament. Another point that you brought up, SMU. UNT and SMU are in generally their hometown. This is their area. Exactly. They have their fans here. But I'm going to pick North Texas overall just because we've been talking about almost all of the shows how they haven't quite reached their potential. There's so much they could do. And this is perfect time for them to get their revenge. This is the perfect event, the perfect time to do that and put it all on the court. Yes, their season wasn't the best, but I truly think that if they go into this tournament with great energy and be like, hey, let's win, they can do this. They can come out, and I think that they can win this tournament.
Absolutely.
Look,
yeah,
we've
go
lost
ahead, Connor.
4 close games to FAU over the last 2 years.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
It's not sustainable for a team in FAU, if we were to play FAU, to win 5. It's probably going to be a close game again.
Tomorrow could be the one that breaks the camel's back.
Exactly. There's no way they can go 5-0 in close games against us. They have to be 4-1. This has got to be the time that we beat them.
Right.
And what better time to get that one victory than in conference tournament, when if you were to win in advance and win the conference tournament championship, you get the auto bid into the big dance.
Exactly. Wyatt. I mean, just thoughts, man.
Yeah, no, one team I do want to highlight, you talked about UAB as a team that has been lucky all year and maybe overachieved. I think that UAB potentially could find a path to the American Championship, and it's because they secured that 4th seed that was so valuable. That was a seed that North Texas really wanted to get, so we got the first round bye. UAB did get it. They'll match up in the second round with probably
Memphis,
and then after that, potentially South Florida. Actually, I think that East Carolina might take down South Florida.
Yeah. Well, and then Tulsa's been trending up here lately, too, and Tulsa plays ECU. There's a lot of teams that are trending up.
There's a lot of teams trending up. I think the UAB has a path here to sneak into the championship game, and once you get there, anything's possible.
Right, absolutely. And, you know, that brings us into what this neutral site is. You know, we're here at Dickies Arena, and it's very different than playing any home game or any road game. It is just a different feel. We saw that with the women's tournament. It was a 9 seed versus a 10 seed in the freaking championship.
Yeah.
So let's talk about what kind of energy this brings. Like, how does this breed upsets?
Yeah, conference tournament season is a unique environment. It's one of the most unique environments in all of sports. And it does breed upsets because you don't have that home court ability with your fans behind you. I mean, how many East Carolina fans do you think are going to be here today? Not many. They're not going to travel out all the way to South Texas just to watch a 12:30 tip-off in an 8 seed and 9 seed. So there's no eyeballs on you from the home fans. There's no eyeballs on the away fans. You just go out there and play ball. It reminds me almost of like the NBA bubble.
Yeah.
It's nearly empty stadiums in the beginning of the rounds. You know, near the championship, it'll peak up and more people will come out. But those early rounds are when upsets happen, and I think it's because of the energy in the stadium.
Which fan base is going to be traveling the least amount? North Texas fans.
Yep, absolutely.
So I'm expecting some good amount of North Texas fans over here on the west side. I would expect us to be going crazy. Look, when we talk early in the season about, well, I would pick this team on a neutral floor. And I think there's a lot of times this season where we could have said we would have won on a neutral floor because a lot of our losses were away from home in close games. Well, here we are, neutral floor, and technically it's almost like home court advantage.
We got what we asked for.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. Here we go. We're going to find out what that neutral floor is all about, and I think we have a little bit of an advantage. Again, we're only 45 minutes away from Denton.
Yep. Jazzer, talk about the neutral site.
Another intangible factor that a lot of people forget about basketball and even just sports in general is the site that you're playing at. Obviously, a neutral floor isn't always the best if it's far from home, but we have our fans here. We have the environment here, and bringing in that morale and that hat is definitely what we need to do today.
Absolutely. We're going to have to go. We're going to talk about March Madness when we get back. We'll see you there.
I'm so tired. I feel ugly. I'm not okay. I didn't know UNT had counseling services. Maybe I should check it out. This looks like the place.
Are you behind on your credit hours? Got more time on your hands this winter? Then you need to sign up for winter sessions. Do not delay. Sign up today. Visit registration.unt.edu/winter session for more information or see your advisor.
Did you know you have access to video equipment like DVDs, video games, and cameras? That's right, you do. Come on down to Chilton Library and fulfill your media dream. Located on the bottom floor next to the student sculpture. Hope to see you there soon.
Hey girl, you know you look good. I like the way you move and groove. I'm not sure.
Welcome back to Mean Green Mania, still live here at Dickies Arena. I'm your host, Jake Levine. I've got Wyatt Schott, Connor Hibbett, Jazzer Williams here for our last segment. We're going to talk about March Madness is getting underway soon. Selection Sunday's right around the corner. We've got some specific topics we need to be talking about, disappointment teams, mid-majors to watch out for, and early exits that we're looking out for. Guys, I mean, it's the best time of the year, isn't it?
It really is, dude.
It makes March truly the best month of the year. December, you know, it's up there, but March Madness, nothing compares to it.
No.
Let's talk about a disappointing team that we are looking out for. Me personally, I'm going with Kentucky because I think their defense and SEC play has been just horrendous.
Yeah.
They're giving up over 100 points, I believe, a couple of times, which is absurd. And if they run into a team, I think this is a pristine 5 versus 12 matchup, Kentucky versus McNeese State.
Oh.
And I'll talk about them a little bit.
Okay.
I think that is going to be a huge upset there. Wyatt, what's your disappointing team?
Well, it depends for me. If South Florida wins the American, it's South Florida is going to disappoint because this team has gotten lucky for too long, and I don't think they're going to be able to keep it up. The team that I picked on last week's show to disappoint was Kansas, and that's come to fruition even more.
Yeah.
Kansas is really disappointed with Kevin McCullough going down with his knee injury. We don't know if he's coming back. They haven't been playing good basketball at all. Hunter Dickinson hurt his shoulder in the Houston game where they got absolutely dominated. It's not looking good for either of those teams. I'm not a believer in either of them. And you talk about Kentucky, they've given up over 100 points in multiple games. Most of those games they probably scored about 110. It's crazy. They play an outlandish pace of basketball. I don't know how to feel about Kentucky.
I just don't think it's sustainable.
No, I don't think it's
a neutral
sustainable
site
either.
March Madness.
Right.
I agree with
Right.
you. It's crazy what they do. But yeah, there's a lot of teams that we could really see disappoint.
So for me, I'm going to go back to the overachieving teams for the teams who I think could disappoint in the NCAA tournament.
Right.
Now this team's kind of faded down the stretch, and that's because they started the season playing so well. It's like, where did this come from? And then reality starts to kick in, that gravitation toward the mean, if you will. And that's Wisconsin. I think this is a team that normally loses early in the NCAA tournament. I think there's a chance that they might make the round of 32 if they get that right matchup in the first round, but I don't see them advancing to the Sweet 16 or the Elite 8.
I think that's also a textbook 12/5 one. 11/6 could be too, but
if Princeton gets Wisconsin in the 12-5.
Princeton could be favored in that game, to be honest.
And what about if JMU is the 12 seed?
Absolutely, yeah.
Of course, they could be an 11 seed too. Yeah. Also, another team that I would kind of fade in the NCAA tournament, Jake, this is one of your teams, and I'm sad to say this.
Not the Gamecocks, right?
Yes, South Carolina. They have squeezed all the juice out in the regular season. They've overachieved. Good for them. Like, if you were to look at the first and second team All-SEC, they didn't have one single player on there.
Nope.
Which is credit to their coaching staff and the team. They play really well as a team, but I don't think this is a team without those dudes that can really make a deep run. Now, maybe they make it to the round of 32. They pick up a decent win in the first round. But if they were to play maybe a Grand Canyon, which I know is a team you want to talk about in the first round.
Someone might mention Grand Canyon.
Yeah, I could see GCU beating South Carolina.
I think their juice box is full, but that's just Jasper, who's your disappointing team?
I think this is going to be a little bit unpopular, but my disappointing team is going to be Duke. Now I'm going to piggyback off of Connor saying that the overachieving, they performed well in conference, and congrats to them, but I think that there were definitely moments during, their games that were a little bit shaky. They were a little bit shaky for Duke being so hyped coming into the season with, obviously, they have a great recruiting class.
Right.
They have great players.
Yeah.
But I think that it's going to happen. It's going to fall, and March Madness is the perfect time for that to happen. Another thing I do want to mention is that I think that they will meet up with Creighton later on in the tournament, and that's going to be a game for them.
Yeah, they'll lose to Creighton for sure. Now let's go on to a mid-major that we're very high on. I just touched on them. It's McNeese State. They went 31-3, I believe. Will Wade is the head coach.
Yeah.
when you have a head coach like that has to go down and work his way back up, he's down at McNeese State. Rick Pitino did it.
Yep.
And so I think that's a team that not a lot of 5 seeds want to play. 31-3, absolutely dominant. They won their championship game by like 20 points. And they just shoot the ball. They just shoot the lights out of the building. And I think that's a very dangerous team for some of these lower end Power 5 teams to play. What do you think?
It's time for me to talk about Grand Canyon.
Here we go.
I've been waiting to go on this
Lopes.
tangent for so long, and it all starts with the man, Tyan Grant Foster. This was a guy who was a 3-star out of high school. He goes JUCO, then Kansas recruits him after he dominates in JUCO. He's a 5-star as a transfer. He sits the bench, wins a national championship in that 2021 team. Then he transfers to DePaul for a bigger role. His first game in, he hits a game winner, goes to the locker room to celebrate. He collapses. He starts seizing. He goes to the hospital. He's out of basketball for 2 years. He goes to Grand Canyon to revive his career. He's averaging 22 points per game, leads the team in rebounds, assists, points, steals, and he's an NBA prospect. He's 6'7", he's a guard, he's insanely twitchy, he's uber athletic, he can shoot the 3. This team begins and ends with him, and he looks like a man amongst boys in the WAC conference right now. It's outstanding watching
That's
him play.
incredible.
I've stayed up till 11:30 at night watching Grand Canyon basketball because of this man.
Wow.
And they have some dudes around him too. They got Arizona transfer Duke Brennan. He's a 6'11" center. He's their anchor in their defense. I love mid-major teams that have a defensive anchor, a big center that can anchor the defense. FAU had it last year.
Yes.
And they have it again this year, and they're still solid. I love mid-major teams with a defensive anchor. They also have Ray Harrison is an elite slashing guard to pair with him, and Gabe McLaughlin is a 6'7" sharpshooter, shoots 44% from 3. They got dudes all around the ball. They play really good defense, and they run in transition offense. I'm a huge fan of Grand Canyon. I think they're gonna make a run in the tournament.
This guy's been reposting like all of GCU's wins on his story, on his personal. It's been great. So in summary, watch out for Grand Canyon in March Madness. Another team that I want to mention, this team actually broke through in football this past year. This athletic department is killing it right now. James Madison,
Dukes.
31 victories this season. That's tied for the most in college basketball right now. I think this team's like legit. If you were to pull up the net rankings, this is one of the top mid-major teams in the country for the net rankings. This is a team, I think, the way that the region is currently projected, I think this could be one of those 11 or 12 seeds that make the Sweet 16.
Yeah.
And if they were to win a close game or two, maybe they could even make it to the Elite Eight.
Right, absolutely. Jazz, our mid-major.
I think my mid-major team is going to be Gonzaga. I know they haven't been the team that they have been the past couple.
Yeah, they are technically.
Technically they are, so don't do that. They technically are mid-major, and obviously because everybody has heard the name Gonzaga and because of the things that they've done in the past years, and especially in March Madness. But they haven't been the same team as usual. And one thing I want to say is, obviously, we know Zags can score. They are the 9th in points per game. They're shooting at 51% field goal percentage, which is awesome. It's amazing. They're second in the nation in that. So that's one thing I want to say, that they can score. They have 4 players that can score. I think that if they make it far against a team that has a little bit of a lacking defense, they can take advantage of it.
Yeah, you can never really count out Gonzaga.
Right.
Also, don't ever fade a Mountain West team in the NCAA tournament.
I'm gonna fade Utah State all day, respectfully. I don't, and New Mexico. I don't think they're all that.
I mean, look,
Mountain West is good this year.
They've got 6 or 7 projected teams right now to make the tournament.
Yep.
There's
That is
going to be
very
1 or 2 of them that lose, obviously, early on. But I guarantee you, 3 or 4 of them are going to advance, and I bet a couple of those teams end up advancing to the Sweet 16.
I think we see multiple Mountain West teams in the Sweet 16.
Yes, I
I think
agree.
we can lock that in.
That was a take that I had like way earlier this semester on the show. I'll stick with it.
Yeah, you got to at this point.
All right, well, guys, thank you so much for joining us this afternoon at Dickies Arena. We are so excited to be here. Make sure to turn on the North Texas game tonight. If you're not here for it, it's going to be on ESPNU, I believe, at 6 p.m. And that'll do it for me and my crew. Have a happy March Madness.
Go Mean Green.